So currently here in New York right now, though I will be going home to San Diego next week, which I can't wait. So I've been working at Goldman for 3 years, like about 3.5 years now, and I interned there as well in college. I work in our global markets division, which is essentially our stock market trading division. So I work really closely with our traders to build out platforms and products that they use every day, as well as automating some of their manual workflows as well.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you again also for reminding me about the video. I totally forgot about that as well. So the rest of our panelists, if you would like to turn on your video, feel free, but you are not obligated to. So just a reminder. All right, next up, Neda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for organizing this, Sarah. I'm really excited for this panel. I noticed that I'm probably the most junior engineer on this panel, so I'm going to be learning a lot from everyone else. I graduated last year from UC San Diego with a master's in computer science. I finished my bachelor's there as well the year prior. I graduated from, going even before that, I graduated from Westview High School, which is here in San Diego in Rancho Penasquitos. And throughout undergrad, I also had the chance to go back to my high school and to other high schools in the area to tutor, and I'll talk more about that later. But I was kind of working with Sarah before at Sweetwater and helping with some of the after-school coding workshops that we hosted there. I'm currently a software engineer at Facebook. I completed a couple internships throughout undergrad and grad school, and I interned at Facebook last summer, working on a privacy team there. And I really loved, privacy and security, and I came back full time. I'm working on Messenger privacy now, and we're working to make Messenger end-to-end encrypted. So making sure that the messages that you send using Messenger are safe and secure. So yeah, that's my intro.
Awesome, thank you. Super important too. Kirk, you're up next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kirk Kaczynski. I'm a site reliability engineer at Blizzard Entertainment in Irvine. Specifically, I'm working on World of Warcraft. Yeah, basically, I've been working in IT for about 15 years. Originally, went to college at Cal Poly Pomona. Didn't get a CS degree, got an economics degree, but got kind of lucky with some internship to get into IT, and just been working in IT. Yeah, for about 15 years since 2005. Yeah. And yeah, basically now I'm going back to school for a computer science degree, to kind of probably what I should have done originally, but.
Awesome, thank you. So again, Rocio's not here today, so we're going to move on to Katie.
Hi, thank you. So I'm Katie. I work for a company called CodeSpark. So kind of my path to where I am, I went to USC. I have a bachelor's of science in computer science with an emphasis in games. I've been around to a couple of games companies. I've worked for Disney on educational games. I worked for Zynga on casual mobile games. And I've been at CodeSpark for about the past 4 years now. And really, educational games is my passion. And I'm a gameplay programmer, which means that I'm working on the front end of the game daily, but I also have experience in game design. Yeah, so that's me.
Thank you so much. And then last but not least, Hoda.
Hi, everyone, and hi, Sarah, and thank you for inviting me. It's always exciting to be part of these activities, and I am very happy to be here. My name is Hoda, all of you can see that, and I have a master's degree in computer science from San Diego State University. I also have an advanced certificate in web and mobile application development, which helps me with what I do at my job currently at Sony Electronics. It's located, the headquarters located in, the one in North America is located in San Diego, Rancho Bernardo, and that's where I used to work before the pandemic, but these days I work from home. And I'm very happy to be here, as I said before. Excited to know what others have. And yes, that's it. That's me.
Thank you so much for your introduction. So just as a brief overview for our schedule, we just finished our opening and intros just a little bit ahead of time, and we are going, that's good though, because we have more time for moderated questions. So we'll be spending until 4:15 doing some of the moderated questions that our volunteer members at Girls Who Code came up with. I also see that we're already getting questions from the audience, so at the last 10 minutes, it will be the open Q&A where I will be pulling questions from that list. And again, that link is in the chat, and it's also being displayed on your screen if you want to submit a question. Because I realize during these things, a lot of questions pop into your head as you're hearing speakers speak, and so a lot of times those questions get lost at the last 10 minutes. So feel free to just submit them as they come to your mind. All right, so we're moving on to the moderated questions portion of our panel. And so the first question, and if you want to go in the same order or just do it naturally, whoever wants to go first, just chime in. First question, can you explain the path that you took to arrive at your current position in your current role?
Okay, yeah, I could start. So I kind of, like, when I was going to orientation at college, I thought I was gonna do math just because I was good at math in high school, and wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. I knew it was something in STEM. And at orientation they were promoting this computer science class that it was like a very introduction, like didn't even count for the major, just really to like kind of like dip your toes in the water. And so I was like, okay, you know what, like let me take it. I've always liked computers. It would be cool to learn this. So the class was like it wasn't like a coding language, but it was I don't know if you guys are familiar with like MIT's Scratch. Berkeley has its own version called Snap, but it's like building blocks. And so then we were learning like the introduction of like recursion, abstraction, like all the like computer science fundamentals. It was definitely challenging, but I really enjoyed it. And after that, like that's when I knew that I wanted to major in computer science in college, and continued on there. So yeah.
I guess I can go next. Kind of similar to the way Lauren started. It was actually in high school for me though, so I just moved to San Diego at the time, and I needed an extra elective, and so I was in the office with my counselor, and I kind of knew that I eventually wanted to do something math or engineering related when I got to college, just because I liked math and everyone just kind of said that's probably what you'll end up doing. And so he suggested, oh, you should try computer science. There's like AP computer science class here. And I didn't know what computer science was at all, other than the fact that it was like math. So I just signed up for it and I really enjoyed it. And it was something that I was good at. And at the same time, I was applying for colleges and majors. So I was like, let's just go with this. And then it all kind of worked out from there. So I started early, as I'm sure some of you are taking AP computer science too. And I studied computer science in undergrad, did all 3.5 years, and then I just stayed and did a master's for my last year. Yeah, so it's kind of traditionally like a traditional route to CS and software engineering.
Yeah, I can go next. So in college, originally I wanted to work in video games. Since high school, I love video games. So I actually kind of settled on working as a producer in video games, which is kind of like a project manager. And so that's why I went with economics degree. It's a pretty good degree for that. But I also really like technology and liked working on computers and making websites and just stuff like that, building my own gaming PCs. And so I had actually applied for internship for a project management internship but I ended up getting closed. Someone else got it, but then there was this IT internship that was open, so they let me interview for that, and I got it and kind of liked it a lot. So, and yeah, once I had a little bit of, once you kind of, with IT experience really counts for a lot. So with just that internship, and then when I graduate with economics degree, it was not really troublesome to get a IT job. So I got a job as system administrator, and at that job I was really into coding there actually, basically automating some of the kind of mundane tasks that were coming in, and that kind of put me more on the path of learning to code. So I started taking some computer science classes, and yeah, just continued progressing as in the sysadmin role, which is kind of the traditional IT role. But then about 10 years ago, I got a new job as basically in cloud computing, which was a little bit new back then, but now it's, you know, you hear about everywhere. And that one's really a lot more coding required, because we're talking like more scale, right? So you really can't do things in the kind of traditional IT way. So that really put me on a path of learning more and more coding and computer science. And yeah, my current job as site reliability engineer, or SRE, is basically the merging of computer science or software engineering and IT. So it's basically, yeah, basically you merge those two fields into one role. So yeah, that's what my current job is, basically working on these large scale applications that really it's not really possible to use the traditional IT strategies for, because there's just too many customers, too many servers and stuff.
Awesome, thank you. Hoda or Katie, would you like to speak to that question?
Yeah, I can jump in. So yeah, when I was a kid, I got it into my head that I wanted to make choose your own adventure games, and somehow that led me to learning HTML. And I was doing HTML with links to do choose your own adventure games. And so when I was a kid, I kind of took that HTML knowledge and I started making websites, whether it was a website for myself or a website for my local theater troupe, or my thespian society at high school. And the entire time I loved playing video games as a kid. And I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. It was always an enigma. I'm like, I don't know what to choose. And then finally I realized, like, I've been programming all the time and I love video games. Why not just? So yeah, I took a APCS class in high school, and then I went to USC. I got my bachelor's in science for computer science with an emphasis in games. And that degree really teaches, it teaches the basics, like the fundamentals of computer science, but there's also a lot of classes that merge programming with game design, or talk about practices that programmers use specific to game development. And then after college, I got a internship at Disney Consumer Products, working in educational games. From there, I went to Zynga, and I was working on casual mobile games like Connect 3. And that kind of ate my soul, stole my soul. It wasn't my favorite place. So I went from there to a teeny tiny indie startup that made party games, and then from there to CodeSpark. And CodeSpark is a company, we make a subscription app called CodeSpark Academy that teaches kids how to code. And it's all wordless, it's drag and drop coding blocks. And I love the educational game space. For one, it's great. It's a great challenge to be making something that's entertaining but also educational. But also I love working for the like 4 through 9 age range, because you can make fart jokes and that's like part of your job. yeah, so that was my path from childhood to where I am today, and computer science and games.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And I'm glad you mentioned that you kind of started out with choose your own adventure games. Some of my AP CSA kids are in here, and that's actually what they're doing right now. So that's really cool. Let's see, Hora.
Sure. So if anybody was not supposed to become a computer scientist, that's me. I grew up in Iran, and I had my first computer at the age of 18. And it was a Pentium 5 that I shared with my brother and sister. And the set was so expensive. I remember I was so worried that if I touch it, something will happen to it and we can't afford replacing or repairing it. And I remember my brother used to tell me, don't worry, there's nothing you can do to destroy the system as long as you don't just grab a hammer and hit it. So do whatever you like to do. That was my experience with computer, and I ended up studying English, basically English literature and English translation to Farsi as my bachelor's degree in Iran. But when I came to United States, I decided to change majors, and I went to study biology. I wanted to become a medical school student. But one day in biology lab, I realized this is not for me. I was not able to dissect animals, and the smell of everything was just killing me. And it was so messy with everything, the blood. And, I came home and I said, this is not for me. I want something clean. And the cleanest thing I could remember was the computer. So I switched major right there. But because I was not a computer science major before, and because I already had a bachelor's degree, I couldn't get the second bachelor's degree in the United States. So I had to go for a master's degree. But going for a master's degree with having no background, I had to take all the classes on my own. I went to Mesa College, took so many classes, and I went to STSU College of Extended Studies, and I took so many prerequisite classes. And I finally entered the master's degree program and got my master's degree. And that's why I ended up later in life graduating from college. But I was lucky to get a job at Sony Electronics, which is where I'm working right now. And I am very happy I chose the clean major.
Thank you so much for your story. I really enjoy that, you decided later on. And I know that a lot of our students who are thinking about college right now, they're like freaking out because they don't know what they want to do. But it's okay. You have time. You can figure it out, and it doesn't matter if you graduate at 21 or in your 30s or later. You just need to figure out what really inspires you.
Yes, it's never late.
It's never too late. I went back and got my CS degree just recently and graduated over the summer. So never too late. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next question. So our students would like to know what skills, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like technical skills, what skills are the most important for your career? And then what other jobs could you see yourself doing using the same skill set? And I'll post that in the chat too.
So, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. There's one skill I wanted to highlight that people don't really think of, and I never thought of it too before like joining industry and before actually working full time, is like communication is so important, and like learning how to write well, because you're not just like working on your own, you're not working in a vacuum, you're working with your team, you're working cross-functionally with other teams. You need to be able to explain what you're working on. So things like that are so important, and I wish I developed some of those skills some more. Like I've always hated writing throughout like elementary, middle, high school. I wanted to do CS, and I always say I'm a software engineer just because I'm not good with words or with writing. But that's really important skill to have, even like as someone who's an engineer. I'm not just writing code, I'm also writing documents, and I'm also writing posts and emails to share out with the larger teams. So it's very important to not neglect those sort of soft skills.
Yeah, I was honestly about to say the same thing about communication, like being on calls with people and, you know, even trying to get your ideas out when you're like emailing and stuff like that. Super important. I think like another thing that, you know, even me, like as I'm moving up in my career at my firm, I think like just like still trying to like stay up to date with like the latest technologies, even if you yourself aren't necessarily using them like every day. Like I'm trying to learn, like I'm basically back end only, just in what I've been doing. But you know, I've been trying to on the side like pick up learning React. You know, like we have a couple of our applications, like we use React to build out the front end. So you know, like in case any bug fix needs to happen or anything like that, like most of our UI developers were in London, so you know, if anything needs to happen and I'm here in New York, like I can jump in. So I'm trying to learn it on the side, even though like right now, like I don't need it for any of my projects. I think like that's another important thing, just in case you ever want to switch or even move companies or anything like that.
I also want to add something. I want to say you can always learn the techniques and the different languages for programming or engineering everywhere, but think of soft skills as everybody also mentioned, and also getting along, because what I've learned at my job is that nobody is too smart to get away with not being able to get along with people. So you have to be able to work with the team, and you also have to, as also Lauren mentioned, update yourself as you go. And one of the things that I learned at the job and was working with accessibility, because this is, I see that to be a future of everything, future of technology. Basically, we want to broaden the access of everybody with different abilities. People who may not be able to use some of their senses, like if you have a problem hearing, or if you have vision problems. Technology is basically getting to the place that we are trying to help everyone and to extend their access, and that's very important. That's something I learned on the job. I wasn't expecting to learn that, and I think that's one thing I can use in other fields, in other places as well.
Yeah, I kind of would add just your written communication skills is super valuable, especially when you're getting into bigger and bigger companies or bigger teams. If you're just like one IT person in a company, then maybe it doesn't matter because there's no one else to really, you know, on board or anything. But when you have a bigger teams, you know, you can't do everything yourself, right? So it's just not possible. So having good documentation, good written skills is super important, especially even now, especially with the pandemic. We're all working from home, and you know, if we want to like talk to somebody, we generally just use like Slack or some kind of chat program. So like that's just written skills, right? And then I didn't see anybody really talk about the second question. What other kind of jobs could we use these skills? I mean, written skills and technical skills. So it could be like technical writing. That's, you know, a whole career on its own. Like product management or project management. Having those two skills really would be useful, I think, for project management, to be a PM.
For me, something that was really important for me, and I do want to second the communication is super important, and being open to learning new technologies all the time. and continuing to be curious is super important. For me, something that I had to learn on the job that still is something that I'm learning every day is kind of a combination of time management and knowing when to ask for help. Personally, I can get into a problem, a bug fix, and I just go deep into it and I'm like, I need to figure this out and I can figure this out and I don't need to ask for help. And then, 30 minutes can turn into 1 hour, can turn into 2 hours. And so knowing yourself, knowing how long it takes you to do tasks, but also kind of having the humility to ask for help. Sometimes I'm scared of if I ask for help, then my boss will think that I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm doing. But no, sometimes all it takes is a 5-minute conversation with somebody else, bouncing ideas off of somebody else, so that you can figure out the best solution for the problem that you're facing. So yeah, what other kinds of jobs could you do using the skills? Honestly, a lot of these skills are applicable to anything, especially communication and time management and the humility to know when to ask for help. Also, for me, a lot of the skills that I've learned in programming for games can also be applicable to design for games, and that's another role that I've been in during my career in games. I've worked as a programmer as well as a designer. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Katie. So, Katie, I love that you hit upon the point, and many of you hit upon this point, is that you're not expected to go into your career, especially as a junior, knowing everything, right? There's a lot of things that you pick up on the job where you're literally, your job when you're onboarded is to get trained and to pick up new skills, especially communication. Communication is key no matter what job area you're going to go into. But people think of, jobs in tech as, being in front of a computer, doing your own thing. Maybe in Katie's case, getting lost in that bug. I'm guilty of that as well. But something that Katie hit upon was time management. And we do have a really great question here. What does your work-life balance look like? And do you have any advice on time management? So that's our next question.
I can go first if no one else wants to. Well, basically, I had a very good work-life balance before the pandemic because I would go to work early in the morning and I would do my job, come back at night and do the rest of life. But now with the pandemic and us working from home, everybody has access to everything 24-hour. And because we also work with different places around the country and around the world, when, for instance, in case of Sony, the main headquarters is in Japan. So by 4 o'clock, they just get up. So by 4 p.m. our time. And then I have to basically reply to those emails and get into conference calls. And because in the past, there were events that you couldn't attend because it was either so expensive to travel or, well, you couldn't be, available in several different places. But now everything is online, so you have to basically, you're obligated to attend everything. So this is a little difficult, but still you can manage. The way I manage my time is every Sunday, I basically write down the main things that I already know that I will be doing during the week. And as I go day by day, I also every night add the events and conferences and projects that I'm working on. And when I have it in front of me or on the calendar or scheduled, and when I think about it beforehand, it gives me peace of mind to know what's coming, and then I'll manage my time to get to all of that. And still is a little difficult because so many conference calls and so many meetings causes you not being able to do your actual job sometimes. But have managed for the past few months, and I'm just hoping that we go back to work sometime soon. So that was my life, basically.
I can talk about mine. So yeah, in IT, one of the kind of downsides probably is you have to be on call in a lot of roles. So you can basically get called at midnight or whatever, 3 a.m. due to some issue. So that obviously is not good. But I think it kind of depends on the company and the role, how impactful it is. So in my, especially in my last couple of roles, we have more input onto the service, right? Like I'm a SRE, so I'm really trying to make the service reliable, and just kind of an incentive there, right? Because if it's more reliable, then I'm probably less likely to get called at midnight, right? So that's really makes it much more manageable. Um, as far as the pandemic, definitely impact work-life balance a little bit, but I'm kind of lucky there because I have a lot of experience working remotely. My previous role from 2011 to, from 2011 until 2016, I was working remotely anyway. So yeah, I just have a lot of experience with that. So I think, and the advice, I don't know if I would have advice or not, but the thing I would suggest is, and it would depend on the person too, but for me, what helps me a lot is just sticking to a schedule, right? Like, I start work at 9 o'clock a.m. or not, yeah, 9 a.m. And then by 6, I'm just logging out. And if I'm on call, then I'll answer emails or whatever. But if I'm not on call, yeah, I'm not going to look at my phone or answer emails, and kind of sets expectations with your coworkers and managers. Oh, he's doing his job during business hours, and we shouldn't, ping him outside of business hours.
Wait, I see that.
So something that I found, no matter what your issue is with time management, tracking can always help you out. I was having a problem that, I thought that I wasn't working enough, right? And so I started tracking, and I was like, actually, I work 9 hours a day for 4 days a week, and then 8 hours a day on the last day. And I thought that I was underperforming, but once I started tracking my hours and, hours that I was actually problem solving or in meetings or bug fixing or what have you, I realized that I was doing more work than I expected. Or, in COVID times, when you do have this weird work-life balance of, you can go in at 9 o'clock in the morning and come out at 6, but, maybe something distracts you because you have to, go clean up because your pet made a mess, or you have to go to the door and get the mail, and you start, those boundaries start dissolving. Because when you're in your house, like, you have your work and you have your life at the house. And so you don't have this very clear definition of, I'm at work, I'm working, I'm at home, I'm homing, I'm not working. And so tracking is a big tool that you can use. It's also great when you are trying to plan and see, like, oh, I think this task is going to take me so many hours. When you start at a new position, you can often be confused, like, how long is this going to take? How long is it going to take for me to do this task? I have no idea, because I don't have enough experience doing that task. And so tracking, hour tracking, time tracking definitely helps there, because then you start to get an idea of like, oh, this task is like this other task. If I look back in the past, that task took me a day or 2 hours or 4 hours, whatever. So it's a great way to learn more about yourself, more about your work habits. Yep.
Yeah, I could go next. You know, I think kind of similar story, you know, like pre-COVID, really like I'd say 9 to 6, sometimes starting earlier, just depending on calls and stuff with other regions specifically. And then, you know, sometimes staying later, just depending on, you know, deadlines, bug fixes, like current like issues that like were like would arise or whatever. But yeah, like during like if you guys remember like back in March, like the kind of the writing was on the walls that like when New York got really bad, I thankfully like got out of the city before things got bad. So I was in San Diego, but still working East Coast hours. So it was kind of rough because I had to wake up really early in the morning, like, and I'm not a morning person at all. So, you know, like waking up like at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to, you know, be like logged in for like 8:30/9 a.m. here in New York. Definitely took a little bit of a toll. So I was out there for like 4 months. But you know, I think like similar things like, you know, you're at home, you know, the home and the work life like kind of like blend in. You know, I think there's some pros, I think there's some cons for sure. But now, you know, that we're like been doing this for so many months, definitely I can agree, like, you know, once you're logged off, like try not to check things unless you're like on support or something, and just try to keep that separation. One thing I started doing was I started turning like my work emails like notifications off, which helped, because before like I would see an email like I don't even know what it is, just read it right away, and even though I'm watching TV. So I've learned to just shut it off and like just wait till tomorrow morning, or just check like in the like at the very night or whatever, like just one time. So that's definitely helped. And then, you know, with time management, one thing that I do, I have like a few kind of things that I do like for keeping up with tasks and things like that. Like I definitely write down like my to-do list, like, oh, these are things I want to do today. For things that I'm like, you know, very like critical, like I'll even set like calendar reminders like on my calendar, like just showing myself it's free, like not blocking off time, but just as a reminder, like, oh, you need to do this by 1 p.m. or send this email out end of day, things like that. Just so like, because otherwise, like if I don't do it, like you know, things, you get busy throughout the day and I might forget. So that's like one thing I've done. And then I just have like a lot of notes with, you know, things that, you know, I might need like later in the future and stuff, and just use that as another sort of like, hey, you need to do this at some point. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the last one. I can just be quick. In terms of work-life balance, personally, it was really challenging for me because I did start working full-time in January, moved up to the Bay Area, moved into my place, started going to work, met a lot of really cool people. At the time, I was still doing team matching at Facebook. So I was talking to a bunch of different teams, and it was like a really great experience. And then I had just joined my team full-time when work from home started. So then I was onboarding on this team like completely remotely. And, you know, it's like my first full-time job, so kind of feel like I have to prove something. And so I was working a lot. And in general, I don't really like working from home just because there isn't really that separation of work and life. And I'm working in the same room that I sleep, and I feel like I just can't turn work off in my head. And also because I was learning and ramping up, so it was just a lot at once. Since then, it's gotten a lot better, like the second half of the year. And it's honestly also like having a team and a manager that's really supportive of work-life balance. Like my manager asks me all the time, like, when was the last time you took PTO or you took time off? Because he takes time off a lot and I like don't at all. I probably push myself more than I need to. So it's good that he always reminds me of things like that, and just having, I guess, teammates that are also keeping you in check. In terms of time management, I agree with a lot of the other points that folks on the panel made. I think keeping a schedule and also blocking times off and making sure that you're really focused in the time that you are working. If you know that you can only work like 8 hours today between like 9 and 6, then you know that you'll get all the stuff you need done. In the beginning, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be home all day. I'll just put in a couple extra hours later tonight. So I'll just kind of waste a lot of time in between. And then it was like, it wasn't that structured. So.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that our students.
Then my experience with work-life balance.
Oh, I'm sorry. You paused there, so I thought you were done. I'm sure that our students really appreciate hearing how you, as whole adults with careers, are struggling, because I know, at least the students that I've spoken to, but I'm sure that most of you here, students in the room, have felt bad about struggling, because I've gotten emails saying sorry that I wasn't able to meet this deadline, sorry that I wasn't able to come to class. But the reality is that we're all struggling. You don't have to apologize or feel sorry for it. The other thing that Neda touched up upon is the importance of taking that time off for yourself and providing yourself self-care. So I had also spoken with our principal, who was pushing out this perfect attendance award. I was like, no, please don't, because we should really be fostering that environment where it's okay to take a break, because your mental health is much more important than perfect attendance. And that's just something that's becoming more and more important in the career world as well. So we should be reflecting that in public education as well. So thank you so much. We will now be switching over to the open Q&A. So there are some questions here that I will ask that have been submitted throughout the panel. We have 2 questions about internships, because this is kind of closer to where our students are thinking about once they enter college. So let's see. How did you get accepted into your internships? Because I think everyone noted that they had done some sort of internship while they were still in college. So how did you get accepted? And what are some things that should be done during college to help you actually qualify for those internships?
I can
This one, I think, because I'm the most recent. Go ahead. Do you want to go first, Katie?
no, you can go ahead. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. Yeah, so I was very confident coming into CSD as a freshman. I had taken computer science in high school, and I knew, internships are a big thing. Everyone wants an internship in college. And so my first quarter, I went to the career fair. And at the time, my family's in San Diego. I was living at home and I was commuting to CSD. And like family is really important. So I knew that like I wouldn't be leaving San Diego for an internship or for anything. So I really kind of had limited options there. But I knew that Intuit as a big company was in San Diego. And actually when I was in high school, we had our own like computer science club, and they took us on a field trip there. And so that was a cool experience, like seeing what a tech company looks like. Yeah, I saw that Intuit was at the career fair. And so I went and I talked to some of those folks, and one of them was actually there when we took our tour at like Intuit's campus, like the year before when I was in high school. I also talked to some recruiters. And so there's a lot of resources on campus once you get to college that help you get internships, and I really highly recommend utilizing those beyond just the career fair. Finding other people that have done internships or that are working full-time that can refer you to their companies. And there's a lot of like opportunities there that I like highly recommend looking into. But it's like never too early to start, and the earlier you get your foot in the door, the easier it is. So I'm really glad that I gotten that internship my first summer, because it kind of made the summers after that easier. So it was a combination of like applying to internships online, but also reaching out to people and reaching out to recruiters that came to the campus itself.
Yeah, another thing, I agree with what she said. I got both of my internships through either like applying massively applying online, and I got another one from our career fair at school. But I think just some general advice that I would also want to add is, and something that I didn't know since I was learning computer science in college, is like these are all like any interviews that you're going to get are technical interviews, like technical assessments that you need to study for. It's like a grind. You'll in the interview you get asked like coding questions. So you just want to make sure like as you're applying, and you might get like these interviews and stuff. You need to know how to like if they're in person or maybe still virtual right now, how to be able to think out loud and guide the interviewer through your thought process, which is like that's critical. And these are things that you need to practice that I didn't know going into it. So these are things that I learned from friends that were studying that I needed to learn. And then also, I think we talked about soft skills as well. Being able to answer things like, tell me about yourself, and trying to like stand out when you say that, like almost like practicing your 30-second elevator pitch. I think these things are really important, and you want to practice before your interviews, because when you're getting your interviews, you might like nerves set in, and things that you're like talking about might go out the door. But if you've been practicing, you can definitely do well. So those are things that I would also recommend. You're already ahead of the game by being in computer science in high school. So just you could Google technical questions, or there's this really good book called Cracking the Code that was written by like a Google developer that I would recommend, and I was using that.
So similar to Lauren, I had 2 different internships, and one was I got it by mass emailing, mass applying for a lot of internships, and I finally got in one. And then the other one, at USC, we have a senior games project, which is a year-long project, and you get into teams and you build a game over the course of the year. And at the end of that class, you have a kind of like a pitch fair where you get up and you pitch your game and you show off your game, and you have a little booth, and it's kind of like E3, you have your own little booth and you talk about your game. And for that, they had recruiters come in. And so I had a recruiter from Disney talk to me and learn, oh, Katie loves educational games. Katie loves design, and she also loves programming. And so I was very lucky that recruiter kept in touch with me. And so he would send me a job and I would interview for it, and maybe I wouldn't get the role, and he would be like, oh, well, I'll continue looking out for roles for you. And eventually, between the 2 of us and between talking with him, he finally emailed me this one internship opportunity, and he said, I read the description for this, and I thought, Katie is the person for this. And that was my internship at Disney, working on educational games. And because I had created this relationship with him, he knew exactly what I was looking for in an internship, and exactly what my skills and interests were. A big, huge part of that, and something that I always encourage people who are interested in getting into games, but really anything, is work on projects. Work on your own personal projects, work on volunteer projects, do game jams or coding jams, because that will help you both get into the mindset of working on a project and be able to talk about working on a project, but also you'll start knowing what you enjoy when you're working on a project, and then you can communicate that to recruiters, and you can start kind of seeking out internships that are most relevant to what you want to do, because you know a little bit better what you want to do because you've been doing projects. So definitely it's never too early to start working on personal projects, and don't be afraid of failing, because even if you fail, then you went out and you did something and you created something and you are that much more experienced for it. And those experiences can help you get into the internships.
Yeah, I can just add to that. Yeah, I mean, kind of in IT especially, experience is super important, and you're not just gonna jump right into a internship possibly. You can start small. So projects is really good. What helped me was volunteering. So I was actually going to community college, and they just had like a class where you have to volunteer, so it's kind of enforced. But I got to go do some volunteer work at a school for helping them with their computers, and then I can put that on my resume, right? And then that kind of helps with the next step, which was for me was I applied for a job on campus in the IT department at Cal Poly, and got hired. And so, it was just such a like a basic IT job. I mean, it's hardly you can call it an IT job. It just was sitting in a computer lab and like helping students like print or whatever. But that something else to add to your resume. And so then when I'm applying for internships at like real companies, it's something to talk about during the interview, something that kind of grabs some attention for the interviewers or the people reviewing your application. And so yeah, basically yeah, just I would say start somewhere. Start with anything, projects, volunteering, anything like Katie said.
I can add one last thing. Do well at the school because your teachers are very good references. They get to know you and they know people and they introduce you to people they know in the industry. And when they're asked about you, they can be a very good reference. So that's a good start.
All really, really good advice. Thank you so much. Yes, depending on where you go to college, there's a number of different opportunities. Take advantage of networking events, hackathons, projects, all that stuff where you can really showcase what you know and get to know different people that have connections. We just have another minute here, but I'm going to ask one last question, and if just a couple of you can answer, that would be great. Looking back, is there anything you wish someone had told you about college or adulthood when you were in high school?
Even if they said it, we wouldn't have listened. So doesn't really
Yes.
matter.
Yes, I think you're absolutely 100% right, because we probably have been telling y'all and you're just like in one ear, out the other. Yes,
exactly.
I think that is the perfect answer to that. Thank you, Hoda. I think we can probably all agree with that. So once again, I wanted to thank our panelists. You all have been incredible. It's been great connecting with each of you. In some cases, I'm talking to you face to face for the first time. Other people I, met through classes and things like that. So it's been wonderful catching up with y'all. And it's been great hearing your stories and connecting with you, through your own struggles working as adults in the pandemic, letting our students know that that's okay, right? We're all kind of getting through this together. Your mental health is at the forefront, so take care of that first, and always be communicating with, whether it be with your manager or your teacher, about what it is that you need to succeed. So once again, thank you so much to our panelists. We are going to end this out today. And one last shout out to Girls Who Code. If you're a Sweetwater student and you want to join our club, second semester in January, I'll be sending out this contact information to everyone who came to the event today. If you want to connect with us and learn how to build cool projects that you will love and enjoy and be able to share with the community. So thank you so much again, panelists. I wish you a good, it's afternoon, but it kind of feels like nighttime, so good evening. Bye all.